Evening, everyone. Come on in. Welcome to another episode of Teen Talk Live. This is a special episode because I have a special friend here with me and colleague. She's a friend and colleague. And so I'm just going to take a second and share this out so everybody can see us and come on in to Teen Talk Live with us. Again, we're typically on Mondays, but tonight I have a very special guest that I want you to meet. So share this video. If you're joining us, share it out and get ready to have some very candid conversations with me and my guests. All right, we're coming. I'm getting it together, you all. All right. Okay, here I go, and I hit the share button and share. And I know the sound is going to come on just a little bit, but let me share to my timeline so everybody can see this. And Catrece, you can go to my timeline also.
Okay, go to her timeline. Ann Dillard.
Catrece Davis is my special. Yes.
We've been trying to do this for like probably months.
All right. And so that is going to my timeline. Okay.
Yes. We've been trying to do this for like probably months. Okay. Now just start adding my friends.
All right. So again, I'm Ann Dillard. I'm the host of Teen Talk Live, where we transform the lives of minds and of the lives and minds of children or teens and those who love them. So my goal really is to bring on guests who will have open, candid conversations with you about things that has impacted their lives as a teen or as raising a teenager. So I want you to come on and join us and have this conversation and welcome my special guest, Ms. Catrece Davis, who is a social worker and my colleague. Welcome, Catrece.
Hi, Ann. How are you tonight?
I am well. I'm well. It's hard to believe that you are on Teen Talk Live with me.
Yes. As I was telling you, this is the first for me. This is the first for me all around is being on this live with you. And I'm so thankful that you invited me to do this.
That is so amazing because Catrece, you've always supported Teen Talk Live. I can always count on you sharing it out, commenting, checking out the replay. And so when you publicly displayed that your book was coming out, I was like, I have to hear this. You have to come tell your story on Teen Talk Live. And I just appreciate you being here.
Thank you. I think we share the same passion with teen girls. And I think that's why I've always been drawn to what you're doing and, the things that you're doing globally, not just right here in the United States. So I'm just very proud of you and I support you. I definitely support what you got.
Thank you. And you're making some big moves. So tell us first a little bit about how you serve in the world. What do you do for a living?
I'm a mental health therapist. I live actually in Marion, Arkansas, but I work in a small city called Forest City, Arkansas, and I work with an outpatient mental health company there. I predominantly work in the schools, and I also work in the homes directly with the children and families. And my base is teens, pretty much, and more so girls than boys, but I work with all. Yeah.
That's awesome. And those teens, they need that consistent support. Oh my goodness.
Right. I think I was drawn to that. I mean, I work with all different age groups, but I think that I finally found my niche with working with teens. And I think that it's been so important to me because I was one of those teens, at that point in my life. I was definitely one of the children that I work with every day.
Yeah. Yes, I think that's one of the things that draw me to teens also. I'm like, okay, I see myself in a lot of teens, and I'm like, I wish I had me to help me through my teen years, right?
Right.
So it makes it easier to be there for somebody else who's trying to define themselves.
Exactly. And when I was coming up, I'm sure it's when you were coming up in the Black community, mental health, a therapist, that's something you never heard of. I mean, you may have had a teacher that grabbed you. You may have had a family friend that saw something and is like, let me try to help her and promote her, but never something to be offered as therapy for you. So then you just dealt with whatever was going on.
You just, the best you could, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Right.
So tell me about your book. It's called, what is it called? Black Therapists Rock?
It is called Black Therapists Rock, and it's a collaboration through our organization, which we both belong to, Black Therapists Rock. But back in August, Duran Young, I don't know if you can see it, back in August, Duran Young, who is the founder of Black Therapists Rock, had a vision after writing her own book to bring together a group of therapists to write about their lives and how maybe mental health impacted their lives and how they move forward from that. And originally I was not going to do it because I was just like, who is going to want to hear my story? Who really, I just felt like I didn't have a story to tell until I talked to her and I started telling her about my life. And she said, what do you mean you don't have a story to tell? And with the assistance of Daphne Fuller, which you also know is one of our members and my co-author, Daphne really was the one to motivate me. She called me and was like, why not take this opportunity, Catrece? This may not ever come around again. And I'm so thankful that I listened that evening and joined in, because this has been a blessing. This has been a transition for me in my life as far as just getting my story out, never really realizing that this stuff was kind of holding me back, beginning therapy myself so that I can get through the process of what I've dealt with in my life, So, because even I was kind of closed-minded, not necessarily closed-minded, but never had seen a therapist, I never felt like I was always okay. I'm moving along, I'm trucking along, things are getting better, but inside I really hadn't healed, and just with being around great therapists and them speaking to me and like, how the healer gonna heal themselves? That's impossible. And so that even prompted me to begin my own healing journey with my own therapist. So it's been a lot of blessings to come out of this book, and to just have a better understanding about myself. You put something on paper and it helps you see kind of like, okay, well, maybe this is where this behavior came from. This is where that came from, So I just have been thankful, and now to see it actually on paper and your name is on the back and your chapters in there, it's becoming real. It's becoming real.
That is so exciting because we're on parallel journeys, right?
Yes.
We just launched our book as well, and going through that process of Unchain My Legacy with Audra has been so amazing and has allowed me to open up parts of me that was like, I'm good. I'm working it out. I'm good. Right.
Because if it's not broke, why fix it? But you really are broken.
Exactly.
You really do have broken pieces that you're just not paying attention to.
You're not. And so I'm just so excited to hear about your story. And so, hey, Treese, thank you for joining us. Yes, Patrice, it's real. And
this book is art for, as Renetta said, this book is art for real. One of my co-authors, and it's true because it's some touching stories in here, and just to congratulate you too on your book, Unchain My Legacy. I can't wait to read your chapter and all the rest of the chapters of the beautiful women that is with you and your group.
Yes, I mean, I'm telling you, like you've said, it's life-changing. It is life-changing, and to think that we can do this unchaining work, which is what you're doing in your book. You're doing unchaining work. And one of the things that really, really drove me to invite you and say, hey, let's do this now is a Facebook post that you made, and you said, I'm doing this for my daughters.
Right.
And that resonated with me so deeply. I'm like, yes, definitely. Right. So,
and I love them. You should see them. I got one on one side and I got my oldest on the other side, and they're looking to look. They just got off work, but they're both, they just looking to try to see like, what is mama doing? Because this is something I don't do. So they're just like, what is going on? So yeah, I love my daughters, and I wanted to make sure, one, that they understood where I came from and who I was, what made me who I am. And I wanted to give them a better understanding of how your life can go through choices. Some things I didn't ask for, some things I brought on myself, and I just wanted to make sure that I try to guide them in a way that they make the best life choices for themselves and understand that I've sacrificed all in me that I knew how in order to love them. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So,
and when you know better, you do better, right?
Know better, you do better. And it took me a rocky, bumpy road, and it did. But you know better, you do better.
That's so true. Hey, Nancy, I'm so glad you're here with us. Thank you for joining us on a special edition of Teen Talk Live. We are talking to therapist, social worker, Catrece Davis, who is a new author of the Black Therapist Rock anthology. Yes, and we're going to drop the link because the stories in this book is just
right,
mind-boggling.
It's a page turner. It's a page turner. So yes.
And Catrece, that phrase that said, "I'm so glad I don't look like what I've been through."
I said I'm so thankful that I don't look like what I've been through. And that's the truth of it. I'm so grateful that I'm here. Because there's even a lot of situations when you put your own self in in things that you may have not been here because of your choices, Exactly. And I was very impulsive when I was young, once I got to an age where I started making decisions, I was very impulsive. Mm-hmm. I didn't really care, you know what I'm saying? And I didn't, I just, when I think back on it back then, I just didn't care. I guess inside I did, but the way I just rebelled.
Right.
And I was rebelling against myself because I was hurting myself. In the process of feeling alone or feeling like I didn't have my parents to support me in the manner that I wanted,
right.
That I just rebelled.
Yes. So in advertising this session of Teen Talk Live, we I talked about I used the title of your book, of your chapter, which is called
Raising Ourselves,
right? Mm-hmm. Raising ourselves. And so I want you to give me just a little synopsis of what does that look like for you, raising ourselves.
Raising ourselves looks like parents may be present or around, but the day in, day out things that have to be done, whether it's combing my hair. I can remember going to school and my hair is not combed because I didn't have my mom there to do those basic things, or my sister having to watch over us because my mom and my father was not there. Having to navigate through life just on your own, not really having someone to be like, well, what about this? What should I do here? Guiding me the right way. Even with my education, I threw that out the door. When I started from junior high to high school, I basically threw that out the door because I had no one to be like, Catrece, this is what you need to be doing. This is what you need. College was never something that was discussed with me. Dealing with relationships, dealing with just people in general, those things weren't taught to me. So I had to learn those things on my own. Just the basic needs, someone just tell you that they love you every day, someone that, is there.
Yes. So tell me about high school. Now, in the book, you talked about an incident where you didn't get to walk across the stage at high school. Tell me about that.
Well, and I had Duran laughing because when I was telling her initially about my story, and I told her that I was a high school dropout. Also at 18, I was arrested for my first and only time because of choices. But let's go back to the high school. I had actually moved to California back with my mother when I was 15 years old. Prior to that, I was living with my grandmother. And once I got there, I just began to rebel even there, failing grades, coming back on campus, skipping classes for 6 weeks at a time. I can remember I almost failed music as a teacher's aide because I just was skipping, just not going. And my mama wasn't there to be like, girl, you better be in, so you better, checking grades. I don't remember my mother checking my grades ever. So what I did, one thing about me is I'm always, I guess, a little proactive, is I checked myself into a continuation. That's what it's called in California. In Arkansas, it's called like oh gosh, the ALT, alternative learning environment.
Yes.
So it's a little different setup, but I checked myself into continuation to try to graduate, on time, because I already knew that I was flunking. And as the year progressed, things still didn't get better. I was just running. I was running the streets. Didn't really have someone to tell me to have a curfew. Didn't really have someone to tell me where I needed to be. So I kind of was just living. And as it got down to the wire, they had already kind of pre-warned me that, you have these classes to complete. And my principal was like, well, I'll let you walk if your mother says yes, because you don't have all your credits. You're going to have to come back and finish these. It was like 5 classes that I had all together. And so, I was like, well, call my mama, because, I was like, I'm graduating today with my friends. I'm getting across that stage. I didn't even deserve it. But as I see, now, I did not deserve it. But I wanted to do it. I was like, I just knew my mama was going to say yes. That principal called my mother, and my mother was like, if she didn't earn the credits, don't let her walk. And that broke me. And I can remember leaving campus. I can remember going and drinking. I can remember just being like, I just rebelled, and I was so angry with my mother that I was like, I just was hurt, because I felt like you haven't been here, and I'm not trying to, I love my mother, so I don't want to come off, but at that point I had just moved back with my mother, probably like maybe a year and a half. So I was like, you haven't been here, and then the one thing I asked you to do for me, you say, no, she can't, no, I'm not, I'm gonna tell him no. And that's basically what she did. But that was the best decision she probably could have ever did. That taught me, that you have to work hard. You have to do what you have to do in order to get what you want. And I hadn't worked hard. You know? So that was a lesson learned, but I was upset with my mother. Very hurt by that,
Yeah.
So, but in hindsight, that was the smartest decision she probably could have made, because that set me on a path where I'm gonna prove her wrong. Okay, I'm the black sheep. No, I'm not this. I'm a F up. I be messing. I'm this, all these things. I'm gonna prove you wrong.
Wow.
And so it kind of set me on that path to try to show them who I am.
Wow.
And was the wrong, which I had to, like, even with that, eventually my path changed, and it wasn't to set out to just show my mother, but just to make her proud and to be proud of myself.
Right.
Because not graduating, even though I had that street savvy, I was like, I could run with the best of them. But as far as educationally, it was difficult for me. My daughter just turned my phone on, but it was difficult for me to I didn't feel comfortable in a group of people that I felt maybe educated, So I kind of felt like lower. It made me feel lower, So it was a process.
So it affected your self-confidence and
my self-esteem, my self-confidence, yes. And that even with that took me a while to get, past all that.
Oh my goodness. Oh,
my brother and sister weren't like that. I was that one. I was the baby, and I was that one that just completely rebelled, but I was indirectly hurting myself.
Wow. And Margaret, thank you for joining us. And Margaret and Nicole, thanks for joining us. Margaret said you are awesome. I'm so very proud of you, Catrece. And
thank you, Molly.
Catrece said, loving your transparency, and I'm so with her. Thank you for being so transparent about that. So, wow, that was hard, but it was a game changer for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so tell me, as much as you feel comfortable sharing, about how your transition of growing up with, different people in your household, different family members as a child who's unsupervised. What are some of the ways that you were affected by that, without giving away all the details that's in the book?
I wouldn't say, like, when we were home, it was me, my brother, and my sister. It's like we kind of fit. We took care of each other. Now, my mother always worked, so that was never like an issue. My mother's trade was she was a nurse, so she always works in some field. but it was when she was off work is when she wasn't necessarily there for us. And so my sister took the role, you know, a lot. And it's basically, I just, a lot of things I still don't fully just remember. Like my brother's like, you don't remember this? And I'm like, I guess I've blocked that out, you know, of thing, you know, transitions that we went through. But as far as being at home, we just felt like you did what you had to do, you know. And if we were at friend's house, if she dropped us off at friend's house, we may be there a couple of days, we may not. You just face it. I really just did what I had to do at that time, and that was, I got into all kind of trouble.
Yeah.
My basic needs. I mean, we had food. I'm not gonna say I wasn't starving. I wasn't, you know, anything like that. But just the love and the nurturing of my mother at that time in my life just wasn't present, you know. And I think that at times some resentment, even from my older siblings.
Yeah.
That I think that was the biggest effect, you know, of what went on as young kids, is that I think that there was some resentment built from my siblings. And I don't know where, you know, where that came from. You know, originally, I feel like there was no one there to nurture even those relationships, you know.
Wow. That is so critical that we have our parents or our caregivers there to help nurture us and teach us how to be nurturing.
Right. Now with relationships, if that's what I guess that's what you may be talking about, is like relationships, because my mom, like, there was always someone on that end as far as my mom and having a relationship. And so those were always times where we were not happy, you know. We weren't happy when people were being, you know, came into our lives, you know. A lot of times situations took place that, you know, that had a detrimental, you know, effect on us. When, you know.
Right.
I guess without going into too much detail right now, but yeah.
Well, let's just say you weren't always in a safe situation.
No, and I just, and just to see your mom hurt, you know, or situations like that, that is heartbreaking as a child, where you can't do anything. You know, you're just made to, but you're made to, like, basically have to deal with it, you know, whether a person is, you know, you have to deal with whatever choices your mother makes. You know,
that's profound right there. You as a child have to deal with the choices that your adult parent made.
Right.
You know,
and I'm so sorry. You know, I definitely was trying to do okay to not cry, but for whatever reason, that just came over me. But I think that was the roughest part, to see my mother hurt, you know, and going through something, and then that attention was placed on them and him, and not, you know, it took attention from us.
Right. And, you know, you and I deal with a lot of kids who, we could tell when mama has a new boot, right?
Right.
Because we see it in the kids.
Right.
Exactly. At school, and how it's manifested.
Right. And we weren't able to verbalize that, because it was basically like, what we do in this house is what we do in this house. You don't go out sharing anything about what goes on in my house. And that's how we were brought up. And so that's how we lived. You know?
What happens in this house stays in this house.
Right.
Yes. And Patrice said, but look at you now, a rock star.
Thank you, Patrice. I love Patrice.
And you know, it's something, because you were saying how in the beginning, how you were hesitant about sharing your story. And I was doing this as I'm preparing for this Brene Brown certification. I came across this quote from Brene Brown in her book, Rising Strong. And I just wanted to read this little passage right here. It says, the opposite of being curious is disengaging. When we deny our stories and disengage from tough emotions, they don't go away. Instead, they own us. They define us. Our job is not to deny the story, but to defy the ending. To rise strong, recognize our story, and rumble with the truth until we get to a place where we think, yes, this happened. This is what happened. This is my truth. And I will choose how this story ends.
That's right. And that's true. That's so true. And I'm going through navigating through that process even now. Is that's true? It's like you have to get over your fears, and everybody, I think what I had to get to understand is everybody has a story. It's like, why are you afraid? That's what I was basically telling myself on the cruise launch. Catrece, why are you afraid to just tell it? It's gonna come out. It was your life. It's what made me, who I am today. And so I'm learning to embrace that. I'm learning to definitely embrace it.
But the fear is a real part. And facing your fears is so amazing, because the first time you hear yourself verbalize your story, it might even sound strange coming out of you.
Right. Oh, it was. And I'm telling you, my body just kind of took over when Duran was like, well, I want you to read your excerpt out the book. And I was like, Duran. I told her, I said, I don't like to tell you no, but I was like, I do not want to do this. And Daphne and Nicole just, kept encouraging me in the room. And I just was like, I still wanted to say no. And then I became overwhelmed. I just started crying when I got there down into where we were going to have our book launch. And then my physical, you saw my leg, I had to stand up. I don't know, my leg just started shaking. And I was like, I am really afraid to share this. And I'm like, get over this, get over what's hindering you.
Mm-hmm. But Catrece, and you're doing a great job. And thank you, Nicole. Nicole said you're doing a great job. And Catrece,
thank you, my friend.
Let's speak to that fear, because a lot of times we don't recognize the physiological or how our body manifests fear. And actually, you actually go into a space where so many things happen, you can even forget what's happening, and that's real. And so let's talk about your fears and how that was manifested.
I think that I've had, like, are you talking about for that particular, or for that night? Right. Just initially saying something to me, I started having these thoughts in my head, like, Lord, I don't want to do this. I don't want to share this. I don't know what people are going to think. I'm sitting in a room of my colleagues. I'm sitting in the room of professional people, doctors. It's like everybody. So I was like, it caused an increased amount of fear. Yeah. And then my, just the physical parts of me, I know when I'm starting to get afraid, like I started sweating earlier before we started this live. I was like, I'm over here sweating, man, and just my body reacts to fear initially through just my thoughts. Yeah. I'll play something down, or I'll talk myself out of doing something that I know I'll be okay doing if I just step out. And even today, this is getting over my fears. Even being on here with you today is definitely a step forward, because it will help me when I get ready to do my next live. For the people that know me, they know this is not me.
And I know enough to know that this is a huge step for you. And, right. And when I think about it, and I think about how you were brought up, to fend for yourself, to figure all these things out for yourself, when fear is always a factor in your life, I can understand how traumatizing it could be to do something of that magnitude.
Right. And it's either a fight or flight, and sometimes I've got right on out the situation. And this morning, I almost called you. I'm not going to tell you that I almost didn't, but I was like, I respect what you're doing. And I was, and I was honored, and I was like, I'm going to have to get over this at some point.
Right. And when we push through to write the end of our stories, right, it's amazing that how we realize that fear is just a vapor.
That's all. And if I want to get to what level I want to get to, if I want to public speak and share my story and be out there in front of the world, then I have to get over it.
And you're doing it, girl. High five. You're doing it. So you have can you read us just a little excerpt from your book?
I was trying to pick which I think I found a little piece. a lot of people don't know, but it was a lot of transition in my life, you know, from moving from Arkansas to California, back to Arkansas, and then back to California again. And now I'm back in Arkansas. So it's been a lot of transition. And in that process, there was information that I found out about, you know, that my mother only shared with me. And so I'm gonna read this small excerpt from my book.
Mm-hmm.
Transitions continued in my life. We had a period of peace until my mother decided to go back for that visit to Arkansas. I thought we were going to visit my great-grandmother and other family members, but now that I think about it, I think that this visit was for her to reconnect with my father now that she wasn't married to my stepfather anymore. In hindsight, I do believe my mother and father had that soul tie type relationship. My mother took me off by myself and explained that I would be meeting someone, not yet telling me it would be my real father. Then the grand introduction happened. He spoke, I spoke, but I did not say much more because I did not know how to feel. I really don't remember much other than I told my siblings once I returned home. Again, until that point, I had only known my siblings' father as my real father. I did not know how to feel when we went home. He followed. Here we go again. My mother brought my father back to California with us, and once again, our lives were in turmoil because he caused so much havoc. You want me to continue? Okay.
That's and how old were you when you
I was 7, like even with ages, but I was like 7 when I found out who my father was. And so for 7 years of my life, I thought we all had the same father. And then we went on this trip and she was like, "This is your father." And I'm just like, you know, taken back because I'm like, what do you say to something like that of a man that where you had this idea of who your dad was, who she was married to, who your siblings, you know, father is, and then you introduce me to this man, and then this man comes back with us to California after the visit, and that was a rough pass. That was you always have that one person, and he was my mother's, you know, one, and we went through a lot behind that, and she went through a lot behind that.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And you all, you got to get the book. You got to get the book. It's
yes. You can get the book. I'll give the website at the end. Definitely. Yes. Please. And it's not just me. I want everyone to understand that there's 15 other authors in this book. And these are some amazing therapists, and their stories, just like every time I read a chapter, I'm like, I don't want to put it down, and I'm almost done with all my co-authors chapters, but just this is a piece of work, y'all. This is a piece of work, and we're telling our life stories so that people understand that the healer had to heal too.
That's right. That's right. That's so true. So Catrece, mm-hmm. I don't know if it was for you like how it was for me, because mm-hmm. when I started to write my chapter, I had to divulge parts of myself that I've been reserving and keeping, you know, tucked away so I can hold stuff together. Mm-hmm. I had to reveal parts of myself to my children, to my daughter especially. Was that kind of the same thing for you? How was that for you?
At first I was like, do I want them to read the chapter? Because they're going to definitely see some things about me. But my babies are, my baby, they love their mama. They love me. And they were supportive from day one. And the first night I got back home from the cruise, my oldest child, Ebony, she immediately read the chapter. She took the book out of my hand. I hadn't even unpacked my bags, and she read my chapter. She came over and she gave me a hug because, there's some things that they didn't know. They didn't know that I had dealt with sexual abuse. They didn't know that, they didn't know that I dealt with my own depression and my own sadness and feelings of hopelessness, so they didn't know that I dealt with, all those things. And they didn't know the transitions that I went through in my life. Not really, because I just hadn't shared fully, what had went on. They knew I had dropped that. They knew basic things that I had dropped out of high school. And they didn't even know that until once they were probably in high school, just trying to get them motivated to understand that school is of importance, so but there's a lot of things they didn't know. And even as my husband read the chapter once I got home, and I was kind of concerned. I went away, I moved away, and I let him read it on his own, and I peeped back in and like, are you finished? And there's some things he knew because he had been there. You know, he was with me from 17 years old. Wow. So from 17 on, there's some things that he experienced, you know, but everything prior to that, he hadn't. So there was some new things he learned, and my family's been supportive. My daughters, I mean, you know, I think that have brought us closer. She can talk about my daughter. She wants to talk. She's not going to lean in the screen because she just got off work, but you like to say something.
Yes, come on camera.
This is my 24-year-old daughter, Ebony.
Hi, Ebony.
I don't want to show because I got stuff sitting down my head.
Come on around so I can see you.
But honestly, as a 24-year-old young woman, and like my mama said, I was her first child.
Catrece, tell Ebony I can't hear her, so I need her to come around.
Okay, she's look. She'll be back in just a minute. She's gonna put a hat on. She just got off work and she's dyeing her hair, and so
I know how that is.
So she said, "I'm gonna put a hat on and come on," because she has definitely been one of my biggest, you know, my biggest support. You know, she has. Okay. So understand, everyone, my baby just got off work.
That's all right. No judgment.
Can you see my baby? Okay. And so she put her work hat back on. Can you see her, Ann?
Yes.
Okay.
Hey.
I just personally would like to say that it helped me with my own story. Reading my mother's story and seeing what she went through as a young girl, you know, you don't really understand why your mother does certain things that she does and says certain things that she says and reacts to certain things that she reacts to. But as I grew up and I went through certain things as a young woman, it helped me have a better relationship and understand that my mama is a woman too. And that as women, we have a common bond that we all go through certain things. And it's certain things I just didn't know about my mama. And it makes me appreciate her more as a woman and as a Black woman, especially having children and the struggles that she went through and everything that she did to get to where she is today. I just really appreciate everything she did for me, and just a better understanding of how she
gonna make me cry, y'all.
how everything happened, and not knowing those stories and not knowing, you know, like she said, that, and just appreciate her for breaking the cycle, if anything, breaking that cycle because of her mother not having her mother and her not having her mother, and I had my mother. My mom has been in my life. My mom and my father has been in my life all 24 years, has not missed a day in my life. And I just appreciate her for breaking that cycle and not bringing that same situation and turmoil and just devastation into me and my sister's lives. So I just appreciate her.
Wow.
Let's go. And I'm over here and look, the girl that made me cry. Look, now I'll be fussing later on, but the girl made me cry right now.
That is so powerful. And she reminded me of my daughter who said to me, she said, you know, I didn't know these things, and, you know, she basically said, I would have liked to have known. And I didn't know that I didn't believe she could bear the burden of my stories then. So I just kind of try to protect her from everything, right? You can't go here, you can't go there, you can't do this, no sleepovers, no this, no that, you know. Trying to protect without giving it too much information.
Right. You know, just trying to, as I saw it, just trying to do better. You know, I didn't want them to have the same thing that I went through at all, you know. And like I said, that it was a learning process because no one taught me how to truly be a mother. Now, my grandmother was in my life for a period of my life, and my grandmother did show me how to love, but she was a hardworking woman. She did what she had to do too. She was come from a totally different generation. So I really didn't have anyone to teach me other than people that were surrounding me, you know. And I do think that, you know, God is always, one thing, he's always protected me. He really has. He's always placed people in my life that I could look up to and just really kind of grow from, that were like mother figures or sister figures, or, you know, people that were encouraging to me, you know, that made me want to be a better woman, you know.
Yes. So. Yes. Isn't that amazing?
Yes,
Oh my gosh. I'm just gonna pause and say hello to our guest. Hey Natalie, I'm so glad you joined us. Girl, Catrece is talking.
Look, too much.
Michelle, yes, Catrece telling our story helps our daughters understand. Yes, 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 Michelle. And
Right.
hi, Illy. This is making me what did Ileana said? Oh, I'm losing it. So she I'm hoping that comment comes back up. With Illy, she said, this is making me tear up. And she's not my daughter, but you know, Ebony's speaking, she's speaking for a lot of our daughters.
Right.
And I appreciate her saying the things that she said. Hey, Felicia, I'm so glad you're here with us. And
it's because this my oldest, you know, your oldest, I had her when I was 23, and I was still on, you know, I was still on a path of learning. And, you know, your first time child, you're like, I don't know what to do. All I know to do is protect her and make sure she doesn't do this. I was a very stern parent. I'll say that. Yeah. And I had to learn to bring those guards down. That's not how you're going to build a healthy relationship with your child. Because what I look forward to is, you know, something I don't necessarily have, and that's that adult relationship with my daughter. And being able to just love on her, and we travel or we have experiences together, whatever we do, you know, I look so forward to that. And it starts on how you know, that relationship is developed from birth on up. And I had to change how I was, you know, when it came to my oldest child. Pretty powerful. Like you said, I learned, as you learn, you do better.
You do better. Yeah. Absolutely. Hey, Cassie, I'm so glad you're here. And Tanya Williams, yes, she is a phenomenal woman telling her story of trauma. And I just appreciate it. Margaret, I'm glad that you are here. All our guests who are here, thank you for joining us. And please share this out so others can hear this courageous story. I know this is a big step for Catrece to be here. And I just wanted to support my sister and give her this forum to tell her story, because like Ebony shared, she is unchaining her legacy, and she is writing a different narrative and a different end to her story. So she's not ending up like she began.
That's right. That's right. And, you know, and the more I follow the path that God has for me, you know, the more excited I become, you know.
Right.
And that's just what I've been trying to do. And I just been trying to do my best, and, you know, telling my story and getting it out on paper and getting it out of me.
Right.
Has definitely made me stronger. Definitely.
Absolutely. Because as long as it's locked up in us in the dark, it breathes in the dark, and it holds us hostage in the dark. Right. So getting it out, it just helps us to define who we are and the future that we want for ourselves. And that's so powerful.
Right. And it's just, even just having the better understanding of my mother as I've gotten older. You know, I love my mother, and, you know, some of the choices she made were based off of her childhood. You know, my mother, you know, my mother lost her mother at 2 years old in childbirth, and my mother went through her own things. And by 16, she was out of her grandmother's house and married with children, and moved from Arkansas, little small Arkansas where she was raised, to California, just to basically be, she was basically, she put it all, you know, she had to rely on my father for everything, you know. And then then they divorced, and she was out there on her own. So she did the best I think that, you know, now I look at it, she did the best that she could, you know. And I appreciate, you know, the things that she did, you know, some of the things that she did teach me, you know. So I try to, you know, understand and love my mom, and just go with it like that, instead of harboring, you know, why this, why is my life not like this, why don't I have my mama. Now sometimes you want that relationship. I do. I would, you know, have loved to have the type of relationship that I see me and my child having.
Right.
But what I do know now is that I'll take what I can get from my mother, and I'm happy that she's here.
Right.
And you know, I'm just trying to love her, you know, learn to love her each day without having or harboring those negative feelings towards her. Right. You know, I've let that go. I've let that go.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Shakita says hello. Hey, Shakita, thanks for joining us. She said, hey, Mrs. Davis.
Hey, hey, Shakita.
And
Hey.
see, here's the thing too. We learned, as therapists, one of the biggest questions that we've learned to ask when we're approached with a situation is, what happened to them?
Right. That is my main goal, I think, every time I approach a situation with a new child and their family. Yeah. I try to develop strong relationships with the family so that I can get the whole bigger picture, because the child is going to be open, but once they see that the parent is open to you, it opens up a whole floodgate. They're very honest and transparent, and I feel I have that ability to be able to get that story out,
Yes.
And it helps me, to work
and help them to rewrite their narrative.
That's right.
As a family, not just as the child, but as a family. That's why I love working with teenagers.
Right. And you have to be able to touch the families in order for that. You can try to help the child and guide the child, but you have to be able to work together, work that whole family as a unit,
Yes.
And
yes. Oh my goodness, that is so good. And so, even now with your mom, where do you stand in relationship with her?
My mom called me tonight right before this. I don't know if she saw something on Facebook. I think she may have saw something on Facebook. So I'm gonna call her when I get off the phone. I talk to my mother on a regular. We do at times we definitely have boundaries in place. We gotta have boundaries because I'm a product of her. So I can get feisty, and I try my best at this stage to not, just to respect my mother. And when it gets to a place where it's like, okay, Mama, I got to get ready to go. I love you, but I'm about to get off the phone. I do what I have to do, so I don't get into struggles, because we would, my mother. I would, like I told you earlier, I used to be very upset, so I would argue with my mother tooth and nail about how she raised me versus what she felt or what she thought. And because she she's it hurts her too. Right. It hurts her too. And so I had to get to a place that she's just defending herself because she's hurt too. She's trying, she's saying this is her view of how she raised us. I know for a fact that's not like that, but why am I battling with her? Why am I battling with her? I knew my truth. So why am I battling with her? And so what I had to get to a place, like I said, my husband helped a lot, because there was a lot of days he would step in and be like, you got to stop, and then she wasn't in my life like through my 20s and through my early 30s. She wasn't really in my life at all. She was in Chicago, where she lived for like years. And then all of a sudden there was an accident, and I had to go and bring her to my home she came and lived with me. Wow. And that was one of the most trying times of my life, really and truly.
Wow.
And so she was here with me for 5 years. Well, not in my home. She stayed with me for the first 7 months. And then she was here for about 5 years. And now she lives in Texas with my brother. So we're better than what we were. We're definitely better than what we were.
So there's hope.
Yes, there's definitely hope. But, I love my mama. And that's what I keep saying. I love my mother. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her.
Right. So, it's something, because I have a mother-daughter healing conference coming up. Mm-hmm. And it's called I Love My Daughter But. And my daughter will say, I love my mama but.
Right. I've been answering those questions to the best of I told you, you've been posting, and I love it.
Yes. And there, that but holds a whole lot of different meanings for different people.
Right.
And so it's important that we reconcile that but and learn how to be in what I call right relationship with each other.
Right.
Which requires, just like you're saying, the repair and then the boundaries in place. Right. So I'm excited for you. I'm excited for all the work that you're doing. Tell us how we can get the book.
You can order the book at www.blacktherapistrock.com /Catrece, Catrece. And we'll
Awesome.
put that down. I think did you get that? I don't know if you can put that in the link or do I need to do that? But
you
yeah.
can put that in the link when we get done. And also, Catrece, I think you and I are we ambassadors?
We are both ambassadors for the Black Therapist Rock Concert Conference. Woo woo!
Yes.
I'm excited. This is my second one, so I'm extremely excited, Ann.
Awesome. Yeah. This is my first one. So if you are interested in coming to a dynamic conference where you're going to be amongst therapists of your peers, oh my goodness, this is my first, and I'm very excited.
I didn't know what to expect. I mean, we can just touch on this just a little. I didn't know what to expect.
Yes,
being just a part of Black Therapist Rock altogether for me, as I continue to say that it's been life changing. Yes. I didn't have any like I said, I came to Washington, D.C. on a whim. I normally wouldn't even do anything like that, to travel somewhere, to go to a conference, but Duran had drawn me in. I had been watching the lives. I had been on, social media. I hadn't really done anything outside of that, but just what the whole organization is about. And so coming to the conference, just seeing all of you everywhere and all these intelligent, African Americans that are in the same field. And it was like a family. We left as a family. Like even with Daphne, I met her there. I met, so many different people there. And those relationships have developed over time. And just having that network of people, the educational components that you get, the relationships that you build. Think about the cruise that we just got off of together. And it was amazing, having all of those people in one space and you getting to know people and just, it's been life-changing, Ann, for me.
I hear you.
I appreciate Black Therapist Rock so much. And yes, I've been I tell people all the time, you got to get involved. Get offline. Yes, it's good for resources and things like that online, but offline is the business,
It is.
And it's so many opportunities. And as you are going to Daring Way, I also get an opportunity in October to go to Daring Way in Nashville. So I'm excited. I'm reading over coursework now. So Black Therapist Rock has so many, amazing components. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be in this book. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have taken some of the trainings that I've taken. I went out of the country for the first time this year, didn't even have a passport, nothing like that. Wouldn't have had all that had I not been on that path with them. So, it's been life-changing.
I hear you. And that's how I got connected with my anthology also.
Mm-hmm,
yes, yeah. Patrice, Deck 11, if it wasn't for Black Therapists.
Deck 11 was on.
We wouldn't have our Deck 11 experiences.
Yes, we did.
Right. And so
yes, we did.
I'm just really excited. And now I'm going through Black Therapist Rock. I'm going to the Daring Way by Brene Brown. I'm going to get certified through that. You're going to get certified through that. And so this has just really breathed life into my therapy experience as a professional.
Right. Right. It's just being in the presence of all of the people that are connected, and you, Sabra, Daphne, Nicole, Duran, Reggie, all these different people. And they're lifting me up. They're making me want more, Absolutely. In what we do. It's been a blessing.
Yes. And it was 80 of us on this cruise.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Just
amazing. We had an absolute ball. We had our educational component, our CEUs with Dr. Butler, which I love her. I hope that she's at the conference this year. And just all the amazing people. And then we had fun, we had intellectual conversations. We had spiritual conversations going on. We stayed up and watched the sunset. And I definitely came back refreshed and renewed, once again. And that's how I felt coming back from the conference last year.
Yes. Yeah. And you have found your voice and you are telling your story and you are writing your own narrative. And how amazing is that?
It's an amazing, it's unbelievable almost. It's almost surreal. You know, if I didn't have this paperback in my hand, it'd be really just like, oh, this is really not happening. So I'm excited. I'm excited about where this is going to go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Catrece. Hey, everybody, if you are catching us on the replay, please hashtag replay and share it out. This has been such an amazing hour talking to Catrece. Catrece, you know it's been an hour.
I just looked at the time and I told her, how long are we going to be on this? 30 minutes? She said, well, as long as it, you know, but okay, yes, it's time to wrap it up, and I got to do these notes. I got to do these notes, honey.
So I'm so glad Catrece is here, and you all share this out, and, you know, just join us for Teen Talk Live, because we promise to always deliver something that's going to transform the lives and minds of teens and those who love them. Catrece, go on to this link, to the comments, drop the link for your book, drop your ambassador link for Black Therapists Rock, and let people know how they can find you. Tell us again how we can find you.
You can find me at Catrece. You can find me at, if you're wanting to purchase the book, www.blacktherapistrock.com/Catrece, Catrece, or my email is catrecedavis71@gmail.com.
Excellent. Well, thank you all. Have a good night. Catrece, thank you.
Thank you, Anne, for inviting me. Thank you so much.
Great.
And thank you for helping me get over this fear. I appreciate you.
Yes. It's all up from here, girl.
That's right. All right. Everyone have a great night.
Good night, everyone.